Peggy Gish, her husband, Art Gish, also a Christian peacemaker. Art, you spend your time in the West Bank, in the occupied territories.
Since 1995, I've been going to the West Bank every winter for 3 months. And I just came back from spending another 3
Why
months
have you chosen to go there? And explain how the Christian peacemaker teams developed.
Christian peacemaker teams came out of the peace churches, the Quakers, the Mennonites, the Church of the Brethren, out of the idea that if we're really serious about peace, we ought to be willing to take the same risks as soldiers take and go into a nonviolent, into violent situations and be a nonviolent presence there. What if people who want peace made the same kind of commitment that soldiers make?
What do you mean?
That we go there and we take risks and we stand in the middle and we work for peace in there.
Explain what you've done in West Bank.
The most important thing we do is listen, and we listen to all sides. We act as international observers. I like to say we have the grandmother effect. There are things nobody would do if their grandmother's watching. So in any conflict anywhere in the world, it's really important to have outside observers there who are a presence there, and the people know they're being watched, and that will reduce the violence. And then third, we also engage in nonviolent direct action. If the Israeli military wants to demolish a Palestinian house, we'll sit on the roof of the house. We stand in front of tanks and bulldozers, and our slogan is getting in the way.
We just passed the anniversary of the death of Rachel Corrie on March 16th, a
few
days before the invasion of Iraq.
Yes.
She was killed in Gaza by an Israeli military bulldozer as she stood in front of a house, just like you, standing to prevent it from being crushed. How did you know her?
I did some work for ISM, that's the group she was working with, International Solidarity Movement. And I led the training for 2 days of nonviolence training for her. So I trained her to stand in front of bulldozers.
And your thoughts, your reaction after she was killed?
Well, that touched me very deeply, since I have some responsibility in that. But she's one of my heroes, of course. And, you know, I think of the times I stood in front of tanks and bulldozers, and it could have happened to me.
And what happened in those cases? Explain exactly what you do. For example, talk about your experiences in Hebron. Did it happen there?
Yes, there was, in the main central produce market in Hebron, I saw 2 Israeli bulldozers, 2 Israeli tanks smashing the whole area. And a big tank came toward me, and I stood there, and it stopped right in front of me. I didn't realize that day that maybe I saved my wife's life that day, because while she was kidnapped, she showed a picture of me standing in front of the tank to the kidnappers, and they were quite impressed and said, we're going to let you go.
You in the West Bank, but you when you were kidnapped in Iraq.
Yes.
She was in, yes.
And you had this photograph with you.
I had the photo with me, and the photos of my family, my children, right, showed that to them. And then they went out with it, and 10 minutes later, the guard came back in and said I would be released the next day with our translator.
What drives you to devote so much time to this kind of activism? For our radio listeners, your white hair, Art, your white beard. For kids who might think, what on earth are you doing? You live safely here in Athens, Ohio, but you're constantly going off to places where you put your own lives in danger.
Well, first of all, it's a privilege and a gift to be able to stand with the victims, with the oppressed of the world. That's a privilege. I wouldn't want to give it up for anything. What motivates us is our religious faith, our faith in God. And as Peggy put it so well, it's love. It's our love for the people that drives us.
Where were you born, Art?
Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
And Peggy?
I was born actually in Nigeria. My parents were working there when I was very young, and then I grew up in Chicago.
And what got you involved in this peace work, Peggy?
Well, we started our activism with civil rights work, and it just opened the door to all kinds of other issues for us. Then we became involved with the anti-Vietnam War protests and draft resistance, death penalty abolition, and so we began to see the interconnection with so many oppressions and problems, economic problems with the war machine. And then we heard about a group that had a different kind of response, one that would be of standing with people and working with them nonviolently within their countries in those situations. And so as we worked in Iraq, we looked for those creative people who were interested. And we did a training with a group of Shia Muslims in Karbala in 2005, and they became known then as the Muslim Peacemaker teams. With them, then we went into the city of Fallujah 7 times during the year of 2005 to work for reconciliation between Sunni and Shia. So that's the kind of thing that we do, and it's exciting because we're a part of a movement of the local people who are doing that and building that up for their country.
Are you planning to go back to the West Bank, Art, Peggy, to Iraq?
I hope to.
I hope
Inshallah.
So. Yes, we hope.
Well, I want to thank you both very much for being with us, Peggy and Art Gish. They've written a number of books. Peggy's book, Iraq, A Journey of Hope and Peace. Art Gish's book, Hebron Journal, Stories of Nonviolent Peacemaking, and Tuwani Journal, Hope and Nonviolent Action, A Palestinian Village. And that does it for our broadcast. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Sharif Odokodus, Aaron Monti, Nicole Salazar, Steve Martinez, Anjali Kamat, Hani Masood, Rabi Karen. Special thanks also to Dennis Moynihan, Elizabeth Press, Peter Curries. We also want to thank all of the staff and students here at the PBS station, WOUB, in Athens, Ohio, at Ohio University. They have been just terrific. I'm headed on to Columbus today. I'll be there at noon at the Unitarian Church. At Kent State, we'll be speaking at the Kiva, at the main campus of Kent State at 3:30. And then this evening at 7 o'clock, I'll be in Cleveland at the Unitarian Church speaking there. And then we head on to Portland, Oregon, and then California. I'm Amy Goodman. Check our website, democracynow.org. Thanks for joining us.